I saw the palm trees. Winter was long, and I could no longer wait. I put on my old coat, tied my woolen scarf around my head, and ventured into the streets, exploring them and stopping by the trees to look and observe. When my eyes failed to see anything on the dry branches, I stretched out my hand to feel and touch. My hands would stop occasionally, and my heart would pound. Then I would discover that what I had found was just a knot, not what I was looking for. However, I was sure I would see them. I mean, the small solid spheres whose color can initially deceive you, and you think they are nothing, but if you look closely, you will find them to be spherical. Their gray is not gray, and their dryness is not dryness. You follow and wait for them to grow, bloom, and reveal their hidden green. I was looking for them when that colleague saw me and said, "What are you doing out on the street in this harsh cold? Everyone is staying home." I said, "I am looking for the buds." He responded, "I swear you are crazy, Fawzia." He was joking. I remember clearly that his voice was filled with laughter and his eyes were warm and friendly. After a day of searching, I returned home disheartened, wondering for how long. At that moment I remembered the cactus my Aunt Fatma had gifted me from the village. I had placed it by the door and forgotten about it. As the thought crossed my mind, I said to myself, it must have died, since I hadn't watered it in several months. However, I got up to check on it. The soil had dried out and cracked, taking on a hue of blonde coffee, and its branch was dry and yellow, even though it had grown taller. Its needle-like leaves maintained their condition, standing tall, branching out from the stem and blooming downwards, thinly and pointedly. My aunt's cactus was standing firmly upon its stem, green, so I watered it. I loved plants, and started planting in clay pots, empty boxes, cups, and anything suitable for planting. I would fill them with soil, fix a fruit seed or a green branch at the appropriate depths, and water them. No one has ever called me crazy, but they said so later that day when they informed me of my cousin's passing. "Your cousin died, Fawzia." "Died?" When they confirmed the news, I asked them to wait so I could accompany them to give my condolences. They saw me squatting in front of them, filling an empty box with soil, placing a sprig of basil in it, and fixing it by pressing the soil repeatedly with my fist until it completely gripped the branch, and then I watered it and said, "Now we can go." I saw them turn their hands about in dismay and heard them say, "Fawzia has gone mad. May God compensate us." I didn't understand why they said that, and I was even more astonished when one of them whispered, "Fawzia is acting like the rich who decorate their houses with plants." I was astonished because he was from our village and knew we were farmers. Indeed, women in our Upper Egyptian family don't go out to the fields to farm, but farming is their life, to which they open their eyes at birth and close them at death. I recall that our house in the village had mint on its roof, a cactus in its courtyard, and a palm tree at its door. I remember that my father, may God have mercy on him, used to say that the palm tree is blessed, a gift from God to his servants, honored by being mentioned in the Quran, that the Prophet, may God's prayers and peace be upon him, said, "Honor your aunts, the palm trees." The palm trees are called our aunts because they were created from the remnant clay of Adam. They resemble humans, created from both male and female, tall and upright in form, and their cores are at the top. Similar to the human brain, if something's happened to it, it dies. My father used to advise my brother to take care of the palm trees. just as my mother reminded me every dawn while giving her daily instructions to sweep the house, feed the chickens, and water the mint. Whenever I forgot, as I was always in a hurry to do those chores before going to school, she would get angry and raise her voice, scolding, "Shame on you, my daughter! This is a bad omen. May God prolong your father's life and keep the house prosperous." However, God did not prolong his life, nor hers. Even my brothers were gone, and after I had settled in Cairo, I became like a branch cut off from its tree, with no family left. It seemed that I had forgotten the mint, the cactus, the palm tree, and everything. Later, my aunt Fatma came to visit me, and she held me close to her chest and cried about the collapse of our household, whose fire had gone out and its cactus had withered. She then stopped crying and sat cross-legged on the Asyuti rug. Opening the basket she brought with her, she said, "I brought some loaves I baked, dates from your father's palm tree, and a branch of cactus from our house." My aunt extended her hand with the cactus, tears still in her eyes, saying, "The cactus in our house. My mother got it for me from her cactus when I got married and moved to my husband's house. This is your grandmother's cactus, and your great-grandmother's as well. May God bless you, my dear Fauziya, and keep your house prosperous." My aunt reminded me, and whenever I remember, I plant, and people call me crazy. At work, they whisper behind my back, and one time my colleague told me, "Look at your hands, Fauziya." Then I understood that she was referring to the black lines under my fingernails. "This is not dirt, it is soil left from planting." She patted my shoulder and said, "This is not proper at all. You're an employee." I don't understand what the problem is with me planting. The place we work at is dark and old. The paint on the wall is peeling. There are spider webs in every corner, and insects have nested inside. I am sure that there are rats with burrows that they leave in the evenings and nights to roam freely between our desks. I thank God every day that they didn't chew any of the files under my care. The old gray files on the eroded wooden shelves whose original color is hard to tell. Even the rectangular space in front of the building, which we refer to as the garden, is covered with sewage overflow, so we can only enter or leave the building by carefully walking on 5 adjacent stones that form a bridge to the door's threshold. I never failed my colleagues. When I saw the state of things as they were, I planted 3 Indian jasmines and took care of them. When they grew and their leaves thickened, I brought them to the office and placed them side by side on the building's only balcony. Yet my colleagues didn't pay attention to the beauty of the jasmine, not even when it bloomed, though they noticed the soil under my fingernails. At work they don't understand me, and neither do the people in my neighborhood. I heard them say, "The crazy Fauziya who throws herself at date pits as if they were golden coins." They were baffled by my behavior. They would eat a date and discard the bit by spitting it out so it fell far away, or by throwing it so it fell even further away. Then I would rush to pick it up and hide it in my deep pocket. When I returned home, I placed it on a damp cotton pad for 4 or 5 days, taking care of it daily and watching it bloom and soften until I can feel the tenderness with my fingers. Then I know that the time has come. After that, I bury it in soil, water it, and wait. I wish my home were spacious, surrounded by land I could plant in. It saddens me that it consists of one room, and that its only balcony is too narrow to fit all the plants I grow. In the past, I used to place my plant pots along the balcony wall, but I stopped doing that because the mischievous children would throw stones at them. The first time I found a shattered pot, the plant inside it torn and its leaves wilted, I suspected them, But I told myself that suspicion is a sin. When it happened again, I became certain. And I became even more certain when the boys started bothering me on my way home, while I carried one or two large tins that are used to store white cheese or olives. Mr. Mitwalli, the grocer, used to give them to me for planting. However, when he realized I wasn't buying his scented soaps or the yellow cheese wrapped in silver and gold foil, he became upset and stopped giving me the tins. I tried to explain to him that I don't buy those things from him or anyone else because they are too expensive and my salary is small. When Mr. Mitwalli used to give me the tins, the boys would follow me, mocking and saying, "The crazy woman is back, and she's holding a tin. Doesn't have two brain cells to rub together. A head full of junk." This behavior saddened me. I would feel a lump in my throat and a strong urge to cry. However, I wouldn't cry. Instead, I would bend down, pick up the first stone I could find in the street, and throw it at them while insulting them. One time, Sulayman's mother, the stout woman with a golden tooth, appeared and stood in my way. Placing her hands on her big hips, I told her apologetically, "I am sorry, Sulayman. I didn't mean to be offensive, but Sulayman and the other boys insulted me. Also, yesterday they broke the plant pot I had placed at the entrance of the house." Her laugh surprised me, but I continued, "You're Sulayman's mother. You take care of him and protect him, don't you? Consider me a mother too, the mother of the plants." She raised her eyebrows and let out a raspy sound from her throat, accompanied by an inappropriate gesture with her middle finger, and said, "Congratulations on plants, mother of plants. May you live long and have more children." She then turned her back and walked away, continuing to laugh scarily. I had no one to talk to except Father Muhammad, who works at a plant nursery and lives in a wooden shack at the same place where he works. When we first got to know each other, I used to call him Mr. Muhammad, and he called me Miss Fawziyah. However, as we got closer, I started calling him Father Muhammad, and he began calling me Ahmad, after my late father, may he rest in peace. Whenever life becomes too hard for me, I go talk to him. This time, I told him about Sulayman's mother. He advised me to insult her just as she insulted me. I told him I would try, then went home. But I wasn't sure I could. That woman frightens me so much that I even see her in my dreams, laughing, and her teeth look long and terrifying, especially that shiny golden tooth. I see her laugh, and the dream turns into a nightmare. However, not all of my dreams are nightmares. When I am at peace, I dream of fields. Those dreams are beautiful and colorful, like real dreams. When the field is wheat, I see it as pure gold, the stalks leaning, swaying, and undulating in a sea of saffron. When the field is corn, I see the cobs ripen, and their tassels taking on the color of wine. The field then appears green, with a hint of reddish brown, like the Nile in the 9 months filled with silt before the flood. When the field is an orange garden, I see the trees small, round, and heavy with fruit, like the women in our village. The oranges shine bright on the green branches, just like the sun in the blue sky. When the plants are still hidden, I see the soil between dew and dryness, stretching out free and dark. The seeds are buried except for a few that have cracked open, and their tender shoots are growing green. One time I saw the palm trees as a forest at early dawn. The sun had not yet risen, but it was close, painting the purple horizon with the color of henna. I saw the palm trees, tall and straight. I saw the faces of my family in them. my father, mother, aunt, and cousin. Their faces were pale green, like the color of palm fronds. However, I couldn't tell whether they stood behind the trunks or if the trunks were behind them. Then I heard a soft, warm voice like a Quran reciter, chanting verses before the dawn call to prayer. Or maybe it was something else. I don't know, but the voice echoed through the palm forest at early dawn, and I said to myself, Fawziyah, you are on the brink, so prepare yourself. Then I woke up. I opened my eyes and only found the old picture hanging on the wall. I knew then it had been a dream. A tear slipped from my eye, then I pulled myself together and got up. Today, a woman who lives on the same street came to me and said that she saw the plant pots on the balcony. She said that they were beautiful and asked me shyly to teach her. I showed her how and gave her a sprig of mint I had planted. Then we sat down and talked.